Welcome to Plat Chat, a very informative podcast, mostly about Overwatch, sometimes about baseball, sometimes about other shit, but mostly Overwatch. We have everybody again for the second week. I think that's a huge statement to our dedication to this show. Yes, Johnny, you look like you're about to fall asleep.
That speaks a level to your hosting abilities.
No, I mean, hey, I'm just trying to take after all the skits you've been producing on the show. But anyway, lots of shit going down. Not much in the Overwatch League. I mean, look, they had to cancel the solo homestands, which is unfortunate. I'm sure those games will get made up in the next few weeks. So there really isn't a ton to talk about in terms of Owl right now because we haven't seen like half of the teams play. But we just got done experimenting on the experimental tab.
Doing some chemistry, some alchemy.
Yep.
Trying to make gold.
We did.
I just played damage like normal. What did what do you guys think?
I think this is a bad change in its current iteration. Because
so you didn't say overall, you just said in its current
iteration.
State.
Yeah. Because there was a part of my brain, the primitive proto-human genes that have been left over from my ancestors many, many years ago that made me want to say, I don't like it. And then just like, hate change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think with a couple of tweaks, it could be pretty good. What I would do, I don't think... So what seems to be the case is that they seem to have tried to make every tank hero capable of being the tank, right? Whereas I think it makes more sense to change some of the tank heroes to DPS.
Just to cut in for a sec as well, that is what Jeff put out a forum post about a month ago, I think, at the beginning of the year. And he said that in that iteration of 3-2-1, which for some reason, by the way, they're now calling 1-3-2, which is...
Wait, really?
Yeah, the official playoverwatch.com says new feature, experimental changes, and 1-3-2 triple damage rule set.
Yeah,
and it's
it makes sense.
I mean, it makes sense because
Really,
it's tank DPS support in the game, right? But it doesn't make sense. Like, no one's going to call it 1-3-2.
Yeah, I mean, that's just weird.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, okay. Well, let's imagine they have a triple tank. Oh my god! Triple tank experimental card. I got like flashback.
Could you imagine?
Then you would say
3-piss, dude.
3-1-2 or whatever.
Okay.
It just makes sense in structuring.
But no one's going to say that.
roles.
People are going to say 3-2-1 or 1-2-3 because that's the way that numbers work. I mean, Overwatch
There
wants
is
to
no
reinvent the
room
wheel,
for
but...
intellectuals in Overwatch.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, this forum post that Jeff made a month ago, he said at that point in time, because they've been internally testing it for ages, that the Zarya and Roadhog at the very least, and maybe some other off-tanks, were in the DPS portion. They'd actually moved them over. So they must have totally redesigned them in order to put them in this, because there's no way that Zarya had a whole team bubbling ability.
No, of course not.
While she was a DPS. So they're moving things around.
It just makes more sense to me when I think about it. Like, right now, Zarya is, I think, with a coordinated team, probably bonkers.
Yeah.
Because I played her just then with you lot,
bubbles,
and we were not coordinated.
Yeah, and it was still very good.
That's everybody's opinion, whether we were coordinated or not. I thought we were fine.
I mean, we were uncoordinated.
We were very uncoordinated. I could definitely see that her being incredibly powerful, but her kit just seems to scream to me that she'd be better suited for like a DPS, right?
Okay.
Like, lower her health to 250, increase the range of her beam.
I'd argue you could make her a support, kind of like how a disciplined priest is in like WoW, with like bubbles and then whatnot. She'd have to go way down in terms of health.
It's just the healing, like the way that Overwatch is balanced.
Not provide healing, but
you
provide
can't
some
have a
kind of
support
utility.
that doesn't provide healing. I think.
I know, it's just like
because
healing is just so important.
Yeah, healing is so powerful. And
let's just get rid of healing. Let's do a playlist with no healing.
Isn't it worrying though, like that Overwatch has had 3 enormous vision-defining changes, like in the last couple of years? Yeah, the no hero limit is enormous, and then they have the roll lock,
And then I think hero pools is
Hero
gonna be...
pools is going to be another
Yeah.
huge one as well. And now they're thinking about adding this one as well, the 3-2-1 kind of thing. Where is this game going? What's the vision for it? It seems like no one knows.
I think they just want people to play it.
I think you're just trying to get to a point where you have a clear understanding of what the player base wants. Like, I think this is clearly like, okay, everyone has long queue times. They don't want to deal with long queue times. Most of the people who are dealing with the long queue times, and the reason for the long queue times is because everybody wants to play damage. So let's just more people play damage, and it'll lower the queue times. More people play. Like, it makes sense, right?
It
like,
makes sense, but it's one of those things where I dislike it because it's you implemented role lock and you caused this problem of long queue times, and now you're implementing a totally new, like, enormous change just to fix that. There are other ways of fixing it.
The one way of fixing it is making tanks fun.
Yeah.
But at that point, now tanks become stronger. Like, look at Sigma, right? Like, we thought he was pretty fun when we got to play him.
Yeah.
But his kit, he's fun because he can do everything. Like, at that point, like, why even have damage dealers, right? When Sigma is able to just spam chokes and do, like, tons of burst damage, eat damage, turn into health. Like, I mean, the guy could do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's, like, the harder part, is figuring the tanks out.
It just feels odd because it just feels odd, like a weird move to make. But I completely agree with you, Josh. I feel like, what is the end goal here?
Well, I think it feels odd because 2-2-2 just happened.
Yes.
Like, it's not like 2-2-2 is like an old feature, right?
Yeah.
Do we think?
And obviously, it's just experimental, right? Like, we don't know if this is going to be something that sticks.
But it's certainly something that they're willing to try. So it benefits, discussing.
See if people want to play it. Yeah.
I think you have to answer the question: has 2-2-2 been successful for the game? In the developer update, Jeff said, coming off the back of roll queue, he specifically said, which we believe has been an overall positive thing for the game. The queue time is, as far as I can tell, like a direct influence of that. Right?
I would say roll queue's been overall positive, but I think it's definitely it's like a shit with a bunch of leaks in it, right? Like, you patch one big hole, then a bunch of other little holes kind of sprouted out of it. Where I think the game definitely has more structure now. Like, it feels better to play.
Does it at your level? Because I don't think I've particularly noticed the difference. I don't know whether I'm thinking with rose-tinted glasses, but when I remember back to playing Overwatch, I can't think of that many games where I got, like 4 DPS or something. Maybe people at Gold and below are plagued with that, but at Diamond, everyone played 2-2-2.
I don't want to be disrespectful, but I think it applies more to the people who take the game seriously and don't troll on Senora in the enemy backline with the aim of entertaining people. I've certainly noticed a big
who are you referring
change.
to?
Who are you referring to?
Who's that?
I don't know, people with large foreheads, maybe.
ML7?
Sorry, bad Senoras who flanked the enemy backline.
ML7.
Dogman.
I think just end the podcast here. Just end it here.
Go on, Johnny. Sorry.
No, I just think that it's made a lot of good changes, and I think it is rose-tinted glasses if people would ever go to back. I think Rolock has caught a bit of a bad rep because we had double shield meta and not like a free-flowing kind of meta. I love the meta that's in Owl now. Sure, it's a bit static, but that's pretty much every meta ever, and I don't think you can blame Rolock.
It's not even that static. I mean, we saw Toronto play Dive and like all sorts of stuff. I love the Owl meta at the moment, but in the game itself, for me, I don't really believe that it's affected my experience with the game particularly. Like, it rules out that entire thing that you always had when you first entered the game of like, what shall I play? Shall I fill? Who's going to play what? Do we have some pricks that are just insular DPS?
I will say, playing experimental, I had tons of fun.
I did have tons of fun.
I had a lot of fun. Fun that I perhaps haven't had in rank for a while because it's just a different dynamic.
What fun I have not had in years. That's what I thought you were going to say.
Years. That's some D&D quotes. But it's just, I mean, back when I played in 2017 anyway, that was like the meta, right? Triple DPS, and it was just way more free flowing, less healing, less barriers. You had to play corners way more to reduce damage taken. Like angles were dangerous. I really enjoyed the experimental card. So in one weird way, I hope it doesn't like
go away.
But like I don't know if it's right for ranked. It feels wrong when you play it. Like you play it and you feel like something's wrong.
It feels like chaos.
I had so much.
Personally.
I had so
but is
much
it because?
fun.
But is it because like the changes are so drastic and it's like new? Because I kind of like when we were playing it, I kind of remember back when like Overwatch like first came out. I like fell in love with it. Like double Winston, double Lucio, double Tracer. Like it was stupid as hell, but the game was so fun and fast and like open, and you felt like you could make plays. Like it kind of felt like that, where it was like not as much let's all get together in a ball and run around like and wait for cooldowns. It was kind of like, oh, let me go flank here, let me move here. Like it felt way more open.
Well, it feels different, right? Because poke matters. Like poke currently doesn't matter as much because of Baptiste or Moira or whatever. But like in experimental, there's almost never a shield. I mean, we play against a ton of divas and stuff. So like poke immediately matters. And so you have to play around corners and flank and be way more explosive. And it's just different.
I almost think that Josh's point, it's like, okay, you're trying to solve for two problems. Well, not really problems. You're trying to answer two questions. Like, how do we reduce the queue times for everybody so they can play more Overwatch instead of just sitting in the menu or playing just game server games? But also, like, what is like the direction and future of the game, right? Like, is it more like a first person like MOBA and you're playing around cooldowns and really like team oriented? Is it actually like a full on shooter? Like, is it some kind of like in the middle trying to toe the line? Like, I think that's kind of more of what you're trying to solve here or figure for.
It's very weird to me because you are 3.5 years into this game's history. I mean, maybe you're approaching 4 years into the game's full release from launch date to now, and you're going to completely change how the game is played and feels as well.
It's deviated so much from what it was on release, right?
I mean, it's deviated a little bit, but even at something like 222, for the majority of the game's history, most people have played 222. If you ask someone like what the normal compositions would be, everyone apart from that small period of time where people were playing the Winston, Genji Tracer Soldier kind of triple DPS stuff, everyone was playing 222.
Right.
Goats, I suppose, is different, and that tiny period with quad tank as well. But the majority of the time, you're playing 222. So that almost seemed like pulling all of the weird shit back to normal. That's what that change felt like. This feels like taking the whole game and making it weird.
I think it's easy to forget that we had a lot of triple DPS and almost like some triple tank in Apex 2. We definitely have like gone back and forth.
What was the most exciting thing to
Ghosts,
watch? What was the most exciting thing last season?
Last season?
Yeah, it was Shanghai playing that triple DPS with the bucket
for sure,
and all that stuff. Yeah. Like everyone loved it then, and then as soon as now it's like, hey, why don't you play it? It's like, no, oh my god, it's the worst thing ever. Like I don't know.
Some of the big reasons why I hated the idea when it was originally put out. I put out a whole video about why I didn't like it. Is that for the pro players? I mean, fuck off tanks basically. Like you have 1/6 of the people in OWL are just out of a job. Like they're not going to be able to transition to DPS. They're not going to be able to transition to tanks.
I'll let you finish your argument.
Okay, so basically they're done. It's terrible for the pro community, in my opinion, to make such a big change like that because you're just kicking careers out. And also the triple DPS compositions that we've seen actually work at a pro level have always been the same kind of stuff. It's been one disruptive tank and then big damage and pick heavy DPS heroes. You don't ever really see most of the main tanks and most of the DPS heroes getting played. So it requires major rebalances to get the game back to a normal level. So it's like you've tried so hard to balance 2-2-2 and now it's woof. It's now 3-2-1, and you've got to do all of that balancing work all over again, and it might even be even more difficult to balance.
Yeah.
Go over, Johnny.
So I have a lot to say. First of all, back before OWL and Rolock, like let's say just before Rolock, I think that in the job description for an off-tank player, it pretty much was that you needed some ability to play DPS heroes if required. And even when we had triple tank in like 2017, some DPS players had to play tank heroes as like the third tank. So I think you wouldn't necessarily... I mean, strictly, if you implemented 3 DPS, yeah, you would say go fuck yourself off tanks because there would be better DPS players.
Yeah, exactly.
But I still think I like to think of the less extreme idea that, hey, let's try one season of ranked with triple DPS, and then the next season of ranked we change it up again to keep the game dynamic. I think you have to think in that way rather than the extreme of we're removing 2-2, never having 2-2 again, strictly 3 DPS for the rest of the game. Like that's not how you should think about it. You should think about every season, like changing.
What you suggested would be way too crazy. Like it is way too much of change. Like think about how big of a change. Like you would go from
season of ranked, not Owl.
Right. Well, what would Owl do?
I mean,
how do you not
re-implement stages?
But it would still be crazy for the game itself because you would be trying to balance the heroes for 3-2-1, and then you would either have to revert all the changes or change stuff even further to rebalance it back for 2-2-2. I really feel like if they're going to invest in 3-2-1, yeah, have to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here, right? Like I'm trying to engage the conversation. I'm not actively arguing for this. But
no.
I've had people asking me as well. Somebody asked me, do you think it would be fun if we went from season to season? They were talking about Owl seasons, but we could say in-game seasons as well. From 2-2-2 to 1-3-2 to 1-4-1 as well, where you have 4 DPS. You know, how the game was apparently originally designed with 1 tank and 1 support. And I said that I think that would be hell for the developers to try and balance.
Well, I think I saw Jeff in a post say that they thought on release that people would gravitate towards 4 damage dealers, 1 tank, and 1 support. That's how it would be played.
Well, my ideal system for how this all works is like a mix of what they've apparently already tried, where they moved some tank heroes over to DPS, but still the same. So there's some heroes that just in my mind just they would just fit DPS, right? Like it just screams DPS. Roadhog. Why? Like Roadhog, the thing that they've done to try and make him a tank feels very shoehorned.
Yeah.
But
it feels awful to play.
How did you guys like playing Roadhog? Because I thought he was very unsatisfying to play. You just eat damage at the front, pop your farts, and you try and hook people, but you can't finish them off. So you're like,
pop your
farts. So you like hook people in, and it should trigger the same happy feeling as when I get hooks in, like, I don't know, when I'm trying to get Dendy hooks in MOBAs, you know, when I'm like playing League or Dota and I'm really terrible and I'm trying to get a hook. But because kills aren't as important in Overwatch, I guess, it just, I don't feel as satisfied when I get a hook and someone else kills it in Overwatch.
Dude, make Roadhog a support, dude. Just lower his damage like crazy and just give him hooks, dude.
Honestly,
I don't know.
Kind of
the changes I would make. He feels like it right now rather than a main tank, right? Just, I don't know. But I would definitely, I don't know, lower the HP to 300, up his damage, maybe decrease his model by like 20%.
Make a slim
Roadhog went on a diet, dude.
So he's smaller, right? Because he's a big boy right now.
Yeah.
You know, he's a big boy and his hitbox is pretty fucking huge.
Keto hog.
Yeah, put him on keto diet. But he definitely feels like he suits that more. And I would make the same argument for Zarya, and I would make the same argument for maybe Diva as well. But why don't you just, I don't know, why don't you just make these tank characters comparable with DPS heroes and move them over to damage dealing role, so you can still kind of have 2-2-2.
But
I
think my problem with that would be you'd end up with those heroes getting almost permaplayed as DPS because they have so much utility. Like,
you think so? Because
Zarya is just the bubbles or the hook or the defense matrix are just way too powerful as DPS. Like if you balance them so they do enough damage, those abilities that are core to their being are just going to push them into being perma run.
I would rather.
I don't know. The way I would see that playing out though is that you'd have like compositions that would revolve around a shield tank, and then you'd have compositions that would revolve around high mobility main tanks with like Wrecking Ball Winston, right?
Yeah, you might still
And
get
then you'd
like
have
dive and then.
you'd have these little different types that would be built around.
But
it,
the problem is that the Death Ball kind of compositions with like Zarya, Roadhog, and Reinhardt, even if you've rebalanced Zarya and Roadhog to be DPS heroes, you have something that looks and feels like goats again.
Why?
You're just Death Balling around the map.
He's
I'm
like,
down for it, bro.
for it.
You got options now.
Yeah, maybe.
Would-
Wait a year.
I would almost rather like okay, so I think switching away from 222 is crazy. Like not crazy. I think it's like definitely something that could happen, right? Like if people like it. And I would be supportive of it. I do like how 222 like I like the pace of play. Like I feel like it's not too fast, like it's not incredibly slow like with the right comps and meta. Couldn't you just take out some of the heroes for an extended period of time and do reworks like how you've done with Horizon and how you've done with other types of situations? Because I feel like the thing, okay, so you had like a Risen Sigma that come after Reinhardt as like barrier tanks, which is kind of like the intent was probably to have them fill the hole of Reinhardt, but with a
The
different...
intent was good, but
right, but they didn't exactly like fit. The only thing they have in common with Reinhardt is that they have a shield, right? It's like they didn't really kind of fit that same role, to where that's where I feel like things kind of got out of whack with all of the tanks. Is like your anchor main tank now kind of became an off tank as well because he was able to do like everything.
Yeah.
I feel like you could take like 4 heroes out and do reworks and leave it as 222, and I think it would be I don't want to say it would be a much better game. I think it would definitely open up a little bit more.
But how do you rework them? I mean, do you mean rework them so that they become more like main tanks?
I think you rework them more to fit the niche of Reinhardt. I think you really take a look at like why people like to play Reinhardt, why fans like to watch Reinhardt, and like why he's never like an oppressive hero, and you kind of adopt that model with like different twists on it. Like I think the issue that you get to is like Orisa, right? Like she can grab people out of from anywhere. She has a really, effective shield with like high uptime. She's decent damage. She is self-sustained with 45. Like think about like the character of Reinhardt, like before some of those like changes with like his knockback and just some of those. Like Orisa has everything on them, like in terms of just like toolkit. Like I feel like you need to tone some of the heroes down and take things away. Like it was an issue that happened in WoW. Like everybody had everything after a while. Like where it's okay for some heroes not to have mobility. It's okay with some heroes not to have healing. It's okay. Like the issue that WoW ran into is that every class was able to do everything. So there was never a need for any specific class or character because everyone could do everything. Where I feel like that's kind of a spot that we've gotten to with Overwatch is like there's so many characters that can do everything. They're like, why the hell would you play like Soldier 76 when like Mei can one shot across the map, divide the other team, stun them forever with a blizzard, and self heal, and has more HP? Like it just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I specifically with the tanks though, they're caught, I think, between trying to calm some of them down so that they don't dominate the game, but if they go 3-2-1, they need to buff them enormously for them to see game time at all. Because I mean, did we even try playing with a solo Sigma or something like that?
No.
Some of these heroes feel. I even think Reinhardt. It looks like he should get absolutely pummeled in 3-2-1.
But I will say though, in 3-2-1, the one thing I think that I noticed, which I liked, which is something I wanted to see, was that like the tanks actually felt tanky. Like trying to kill a diva, like when she was on the cart, like she felt like a tank. Like right now, they just feel like healthy damage dealers. Like where I feel like when Diva was on the cart, we had the game of Junkertown, but Diva was on the cart. She was alive forever. They had like an Ana like on the high ground pocketing it at her.
Mercy as well, pocketing.
Yeah. But that also creates a decision, right? Because now the damage dealers are like, oh, well, do we just pump damage into the diva? Like, do we go to the high ground? Maybe we don't have the mobility. Like, you actually get like a little bit of a shootout. Like,
yeah,
it didn't feel bad.
No, it didn't feel bad. And I think when you analyze experimental, you sort of have to look from it as in a big picture. Like,
Right.
You can't get narrowed down on specific heroes, because I think that obviously the balance changes are very rough, and I don't think they're like finalized in any way, and they're trying stuff out. But as a concept, I think that triple damage and the chaos, it was a nice break.
Nice change of pace.
Yeah, nice change of pace.
That's
And
the thing,
I really embraced the
But is that
chaos involved.
I'll ask this. Is that the game that everybody like when you fell in love with Overwatch, like did you fall in love with like the slower team play of it, or did you fall in love with the fast arcadey? Like I fell in love with the fast arcadey, more open.
But I feel like that's
shooter.
I mean, you really like Call of Duty, you really like the shooter aspect, you're a DPS player, that kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I started playing support, and if it was
Well, that was a bad decision on you. You should have just played DPS.
the people like you are the problem, Matt. People that only look
People
DPS,
like me
you
are the problem. They are trying to solve the me problem.
Yes, yeah. There's a lot
I
of
want to
views
just
out
play.
there.
Bren is too. He just wants to play Genji and Widowmaker. He don't give a shit about
you
any of the other roles.
When you just said when you first played Overwatch, what did you fall in love with? I don't know why. The first thing that popped into my
Oh
head.
God, what did you fall in love with?
Oh, the
Bren?
first thing that popped in my head was Widowmaker's ass. And I was gonna say it, but we were so serious.
Well, now
I
you
didn't want
said
to.
it.
But I had to just say it, bro.
So besides that, what did you enjoy, Bren? Because I feel like you're like me, where you just want to click heads.
Yeah, I like fast pace. I like high skill characters, despite the fact
High
that I'm
school
not-
characters.
I heard that
too. High skill characters, despite the fact that I'm not very good. I like when you pop off and it feels good. You know, when you have those moments.
Yeah.
If
where
yeah,
you do well.
And I'm willing to make the argument. This
okay,
might
here
be
we go.
super. This might be a super
Here
hot
we
take.
go. Super hot
Okay,
take.
I'm not going to say say it as definitive, but
Yeah.
I'm willing to toy with the idea that triple DPS at like Takeover 2 finals, United versus Rogue, was way more skillful than double shield meta. In that there was so the game was so volatile, and you had to play positioning so well, and coordination had to be so on point with less shields and less healing, that it was just so much depth to it.
Yeah, if you make a single
Like-
mistake, you get punished really hard.
Yeah. Whereas if sometimes when I play double shield comps, I know we don't have double shield anymore, but it's just like the go-to example of recent Overwatch. Sometimes it just feels incredibly like,
Well, I know.
I don't want to say dull, but it's just like there's less detailing to it. There's like more about ultimates and spamming shields and abilities. It's less about positioning and less about mechanical aim and
right. I know when
that
double
stuff.
shield was about, like it felt like as a damage dealer at times you just didn't have the ability to like impact a game heavily at times.
Yeah.
To where you're just kind of shooting the shield, waiting to, and then you're relying on 2 other people to do something correct to be able to win. Which I get it, it's a team game, right? But there should be some aspect of Bren's a sick Genji, let him go in and get like a pick and make something happen. Like there should be some kind of that in there.
So let me say that there's way more downtime, I find, in double shield and in GOATs.
Yeah.
Whereas in past Overwatch, there was always something happening. You know, maybe if you play like control, you protect the point or whatever. But like usually the dynamic of like pushing up on payload maps and like that kind of stuff was way faster, and there was always something happening, always something I had to do. And maybe I'm wrong. Like no one's saying anything.
I would also
I just feel like there's the way more downtime.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like conceptually, yeah. I mean, I disagree that the specific time period of United versus Rogue was like better quality or something because the people.
Oh no, better quality, not better quality.
Yeah,
but
just
there was more like peak potential skill. I find higher.
Yeah, possibly. I think that the idea of getting punished more for your mistakes, just leads to.
I think something that Triple DPS also gives the development team a big win on is that it is. I mean, I don't want to say easier, but I think it's definitely better I'll say easier for them to develop new damage dealers as opposed to new tanks that are balanced or new supports that are balanced. I mean, look at the tanks that we've seen get released, like Arisa, Sigma, supports with Baptiste and Brigitte. Like, to create heroes in that niche that make a big impact, they need to be pretty strong, like almost to the point of being oppressive. To where damage dealers, like if there were more damage dealers, you could create so many new kits for damage dealers that we haven't seen yet in the game that could come in and actually be like impactful and playable on day one. Like, I mean, think about how some of the like Ashe is super fun, Doomfist is pretty fun, like Sombra has an interesting kit. Like the damage dealers that they've released have been pretty sweet.
The thing that it makes, I think, more difficult for the developers though is actually balancing the game so that there's a variety of things being played.
Yeah,
I think that in ranked you will just see a variety of DPS being played anyway, because the game will be so chaotic that nobody will have a fucking clue what they're doing, so you can just get away with anything. But in terms of the support lines and the tanks, with only one tank playable in the match, 2 in a match, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you have is there 11 tanks in the game? I think. No.
11.
Who
9?
knows?
How many tanks are there?
I've
8,
never counted.
8 or 9, I think.
8.
There's only 8 tanks in the game. Okay. With 8 tanks in the game, the amount that you actually see per match compared to how many are available, I don't think that we will rotate through them effectively whatsoever. It might be a year before you get what your favorite main tank is even playable. Like, for example, I mean, we've already been through the Zarya and the Roadhog kind of aspect of it, but Winston as well is in such a weird spot if you play solo tank, because it seems like Wrecking Ball can do almost everything Winston can, but better in a triple tank kind of scenario, in a triple DPS kind of scenario. Winston was good at controlling space, but you will never be able to control space if you don't have an off tank.
That's what I was talking about.
But
yeah, the buffs
That's
are
what I was
nice.
talking about before, though. Like when these new tanks came out, they're just super evolved, better versions of the previous.
Yeah.
Like almost like you look at how far like some heroes have passed Soldier 76 in terms of like the kit. It's like, look at Wrecking Ball compared to Winston, right? Like, he has insane mobility and speed, a shield that gets stronger with more people that are around, like a power bomb slam to the ground. He's got good weapons. He's got like an AoE, like bombs as an ultimate. Like he's just a mega version of Winston, right?
And if they mega up Zarya and Roadhog in order for them to compete with these new main tanks, it just leaves Winston and Reinhardt like 2 of genuinely the best designed heroes that were in the game on release, and possibly even still at the moment.
That's why
just in the dust.
That's why it's like, well, can't you just like remove a hero a month and scale them back, or try and figure out something different for their kit, like some kind of
from ranked anyway? Like, obviously quick play, I don't think you can do
that.
Because
leave
the
them in quick
amount
play.
of Orisa casual Orisa fans is unbelievable. Like, I don't think people realize.
What I want to know is why.
Why are you a casual Orisa fan, you mean?
Well, yeah.
Well, I think they're not perhaps fans of like Wrecking Ball, just hyper aggro. They just want to stand still, put their shield down, and be a horse robot.
It's easy. I mean, it is just like when I watched. Holy hell, who was I watching recently? That was
especially console players.
Oh, I was I was at Guildhall, and one of the bartenders plays Overwatch a lot, and they were streaming it, and they got their girlfriend to play. And she wanted to play the horse lady, so she played Orisa. And she just stood there with her shield, just spamming, spam, and then walked forward and fed. And I was like, all right, she's pretty bad. And then I saw on other heroes like Reinhardt, and it was a catastrophe. I mean, it's just not even possible to play Reinhardt if you're bad at the game. But when she was on Orisa, plonk down shield, boop, 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 and you feel like you're doing a little bit and able to kind of hold your own, even if you have no idea what you're doing.
I think the issue is when a hero like that impacts the higher echelon of players.
Yeah.
Like, having heroes like that, I think, is important for the people to learn and progressively get better. but when they become mainstays at the top, and then like not abused, but kind of, I mean, to a
Just
point,
make
I guess,
everything
yeah.
boring.
Just make everything, yeah, because it just kind of reduces the play.
What an
I-
enigma it is that there are Orisa players in the world.
It's a
Like, genuinely though, like, try and just wrap your head around it. Like, do we not play games to be engaged, tested in some sort of way?
See,
No, not everybody does.
Bren is just feeding into my style of play with his
But-
comments.
If you're an
Genuinely
Orisa player,
though.
please leave a comment in the YouTube.
Yeah, tell us why you like
Let us know
Bren.
what
Yeah,
you think
I'd like
about.
to
Let
know
us know
why.
what you think about Bren in the comments.
Oh, people play games to relax and have fun as well, so they don't
Yeah.
necessarily need to
But is
feel
that
like
where
they're
the people
throwing
should be?
constantly.
They should be in quick play though, right?
Yeah, like that's what
Why?
I mean. Like,
Why? Just because they want to
No,
have
they
fun
should be
and
farming
ranked?
herbs in World of Warcraft.
but yeah, like if you're playing a game to relax, I don't play Overwatch to relax. I play Overwatch to fucking
turn
get my
up.
blood pressure turned up.
But that doesn't mean it should be the only way that you play.
No, I relax in Stardew Valley, not on Orisa. You know what I mean? Like infinitely more entertaining.
Some people enjoy relaxing on Widowmaker. They'll just turn some music on, jump into the game, and try and hit some heads.
That's the beauty of people enjoying different things.
Yeah.
So I can be an Orisa and play with Bren.
What
when he
would the
plays
game?
Overwatch.
Well, hold on. What would? Well, let me ask this. What would it look like if they reworked and took out for a limited period of time? If you took out Batiste, Brig, Orisa, and Sigma,
And May.
and yeah, and I think May probably is the other one. Would you be in a better spot
I
instantly?
think the game would be good.
But
I
then,
think you'd be. I think you'd be closer.
but what do you
Yeah.
do with those heroes? That's the question, right? Because you can't just leave them out forever. You have to
No.
change them and bring them
And
back
I-
in.
Well, that's
That's
our
the-
part. Is you can't remove them all at once and rework them. While you have to do one at a time.
That's the hard part, right? It's because these heroes have individual styles and identities, and you want to keep that. But at the same time, like, how do you design abilities around that? Like Brigitte's, maybe I've always said this, but I think maybe if you did the knockback of the whip shot from her shield bash, and oh no, actually that's a dumb idea. I'm gonna just stop talking.
I do agree, though. I think there's some heroes that just their thing, the entirety of their being revolves around some specific ability. Like Zarya has her bubbles.
But the fact that we're in a place where Batiste is a stronger damage dealer than like Soldier 76 is like kind of absurd.
Yeah,
he's-
yeah.
that-
That
really,
is messed up.
But
He's not really
this
though, is he?
whole okay, but this whole
All right, he's not
argument-
stronger, but like he can self heal. He can become
Yeah,
invincible. In an AOE, he can put down a window and double his damage. Like
in the entire argument for all of these changes in Overwatch, for role lock, for hero pools, for 3-2-1, all of this kind of stuff comes down to essentially, if the balance of the game worked effectively, then none of these would be required. But the game is so hard to balance that you have to add limitations to how the players can play
Right.
in order to make the game fun and make players actually play the game.
could you do like shorter seasons of competitive, but with like locked hero pools that like they aren't allowed for like 3 weeks, right? And have like rotating sets.
I just think that if the developers thought that they could answer the problems that the
Through balance.
then they've already
Would.
tried that for years.
Right.
So if it, I'm not saying that the developers are shit and that's why they can't do it. The game is so complex that I
Yes.
don't think a team of human beings would be able to effectively balance this game perfectly. Maybe some people could do it a little better. Maybe there's definitely better things that they could do, but the game itself is crazy complex.
Like League of Legends, right? There's one game mode. Like imagine trying to balance all of these different heroes with all different combinations, not like a set combination of them, like in terms of who gets played when and what.
All
and then
different maps.
over multiple different game modes and maps that have like certain strengths and weaknesses on. Like it's a lot to. But I think though, if you're the development team, you want to get to a spot that you feel good about before, like, you know, Overwatch 2, and you start adding like new maps and new modes, right? Which they've already talked about. Like, you don't want to have this problem going into Overwatch 2, right?
Yeah.
You want to try and have some kind of solution that you feel great about in place going in.
And this is why, for me, it always comes back to the question of, could the developers just revert 2-2-2? Like, could they revert it and just be super harsh with balance changes, and would the game be in a better place?
If you had no 2-2-2 but hero pools, what do you think would have happened?
I mean, I think you still need to be incredibly harsh on certain balance changes to make sure that you get out of the triple tank kind of situation. But I think it was possible. I mean, this new design philosophy of them attacking the meta is so different to what they were doing at that period of time.
Yeah,
that I think
it feels like they have like too much shit going on in the kitchen.
I would love to see that experimental playlist. Give me hero pools, but no rollout.
Yeah, see what happens. See,
I think.
Yeah, I mean.
But will you end up with the issue of fighting people for roles?
They've made these changes though to make the in-game experience better, right, from top to bottom.
Which is
the whole point of 2-2-2 was to make the ranked games better quality. Now they have the side issue of the queue time. They're like, okay, well, let's shift the roles around so that more DPS people can actually play the game at once.
Yeah,
and that's why they've made these changes, right?
Yeah, but if this doesn't work, then what you're essentially saying is long queue times worse than whatever how bad it was when 2-2-2 was in?
How do you think it would be with this is gonna be weird, but 3 damage dealers, 2 tanks, and 1 support?
I think the tanks would have a horrible time because you just.
I think the supports would also have a horrible time.
Well, I mean, you only have 1 support, right?
You'd queue in and you'd have, well, the support would have a horrible time. You'd queue in, you'd have instant anxiety. You're like, you're trying to keep all of these, like some Adderall junked up Genji just flipping all over the place. And you're trying to heal him, the tank's screaming at you.
Yeah, I definitely think that having a single tank is better than a single support.
Really? You think? Because I think you could actually have to make less drastic changes to the supports.
It would be. The game would just be ass, though.
Yeah, I don't think it would be particularly fun.
I mean, I think, yeah, you're probably right, but I'm just saying
I think that
you're doing a great job hosting, man.
Look, if we're gonna talk about all these other types of shit, we may as well just throw this out there.
I agree. I think though that Overwatch, you need healing. Like, as much as people in Overwatch, the Overwatch community hate the idea of healing. You look at any MOBA and stuff, you buy items that heal you over time or give you some healing, or the supports can heal you. If you can't heal, you can't engage. You can't push through choke points. You can't do shit. You can't move forward. You can't control space. So if you only played with a single support and your tanks are trying to move in and you've got a fucking Genji doing backflips and stuff, you get to half health. Well, now you just can't play the game. You have to go and hunt for a health pack. Like, I think the game would be.
It would probably go super slow. It would be really
It would be
slow.
Ryan. It would be Ryan or Risa Baptiste.
Yeah, it would be super slow.
Definitively.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
it's they have a very difficult task ahead of themselves, and it feels like there's too much going on. So it's hard to judge the changes they're doing because there's so many things happening, like hero polls, 2-2, experimental, big patch notes. Like, there's so much stuff going on, so you can't individually isolate one change and talk about it because everything affects everything else. So it's difficult. I know.
It's I can't remember a game kind of like having like not really like a problem, but like so many like game-changing defining features. Like,
come on, Fortnite did that. They with the mix and shit, and they were like,
but that's just to
so
change
many drastic changes.
But that's just a season, though. It's not like the whole. Like, it's not like you can still use the mech, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just like when they say they're willing to make drastic changes. I'm like, I would be down for a ranked season with
like Fortnite.
DPS.
Fortnite
if done the right, correct way.
I think
I would be down to just have fun with that.
You compare the Fortnite changes to Overwatch or something. The Fortnite changes is like a guy in college going and changing his haircut, changing up the way that he lives for a little while. He picks up some new friends, stuff like that. Overwatch is like the guy on the bench having a midlife crisis. He just doesn't understand how to live anymore. He doesn't understand what the root of the rest of his life is.
Yeah,
I will say this. I do like that the dev team are making changes.
Yes,
because Blizzard is a company that was actually quite notorious, at least certain development sections of it, for just not really making changes that often and being a little bit slow with it. I would say.
Oh, they're
from what I
definitely
can
being
remember.
rapid now.
But now, like
Yeah.
they've turned it around, right?
Yeah.
And it's a change in philosophy. I guess it depends on department to department.
I
but-
kind of would like to see a mini, like I think what Johnny was saying earlier, a mini ranked season of 3-2-1, and not calling it 1-3-2, whatever the hell it was.
But I'm definitely.
I want to
so here's
see.
the
I
thing.
want to see a ranked season of it.
So
No,
Jeff an hour ago said, this experiment is only going to last a week. So they're just trying to collect data on how it works, like what's fucking terrible, what's good. And then the next experiment card will probably just be the balance changes around that to see how it works. So a lot of what we're saying might be made redundant. I don't know. But I do find it. I think to just bring it back to this point about even in the first place that we're able to test this on a live client,
Which is sick. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Huge.
That's fantastic.
like now console players can do it as well. Like
Yep.
they're gonna have so much to work with.
Wild idea.
Yeah.
What if they had experimental cards up for 2 weeks, and at the middle, like the weekend after you introduced it, you had a small tournament where everyone could participate for like a small prize pool, and it was just like the experimental tournament, and you had streamers and open division players, whatever, just playing for prize
Dude,
money.
that
just
sounds like a
experimenting.
dope idea.
that would be a
Like
great
a,
idea because it incentivizes people to play
workshop type of thing.
seriously.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a lot. Like put up like 5 or 10 grand, like every 2 weeks.
Mostly like a Twitch Rivals type of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and just have people try dumb shit. I'd love to see a triple
Because I
DPS
do
tournament.
think though, like they'll get a ton of data out of the experimental playlist, but you're also putting in hero pools in like 2 weeks, so you have no idea how that system would affect this system as well.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
so
it's
I don't
just-
know what data you can really get from it outside of.
I would
Do
rather
people
have
get
them.
into games
It's more about
faster?
staying up to date, like dynamic.
Yeah.
change it,
I would
have
much
fun.
rather have them experiment with 3-2-1 than hero pools, though. Personally, because the hero
Oh,
pools
yeah.
change.
Oh yes, yeah.
Directly causes you not to be able to find sufficient data in the future because heroes are just going all over the place. So if you're gonna try and experiment with 3-2-1, don't do it with hero pools moving in and out and all over the place. Just stick to one thing.
Man, there's so many because once you like kind of reopen the Pandora's box of moving away from 2-2-2, there's so many different things you start thinking about.
Yeah, there's so many different ways that the game could be played.
Of like,
theoretically.
oh, can we have like one position that's a flex who can play any role, right? Like, who can literally select any character and fit into a team, right? And then that player on each Overwatch roster becomes like super important, like star player kind of quality. Like, there's yeah, I think though before, like I think with Overwatch 2, I think you'll see like a large number of players like return to the game and come back to the game and play it. I think you need to have these systems like locked down and in place. Like
Maybe that's the way they're looking at it.
We're moving forward with this system
Right.
into
Yeah.
2, and that's what the new players are going to be.
Maybe that.
Experiencing. It has to be what they're kind of thinking.
Maybe
about.
that's what they're looking at because we're looking at this from like the big picture of we've worked in this game for
Right.
what, 4 years now, right?
Yeah.
It is. It's been 4 years
Yeah.
for like all of us. So we're looking at these changes and we're like, it's too much too quickly. But like maybe that is their mentality is like we need to find the system moving forward for when we reset and refresh with Overwatch 2. It's just
right
gonna be
because you'd be designing heroes like now, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, what are they and how do they work and what roles are they going to fit into?
what
Like
do
you
we
need to
wanna
get those
go in
systems
moving
in.
forward?
Yeah, you need to get those systems in place now and make sure they're systems that last, right? Like the last thing you'd want to do is just like let status quo grow and then like try and make a change late, which is why I think the dev team like they deserve a ton of credit for even being able to pull the experimental tab off, giving us this type of stuff while also working on like a ton of stuff for the new game, right? So I think though it's definitely probably a lot of data collection for them on what people want, how do they want to play, which I'm super interested to see what kind of comes out of it.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting point. Kind of talking about Overwatch 2 and redesigning a bunch of different stuff. I still
Because
don't
let's say
really
you
see-
decide, well, but if you decide, let's say, oh, 3-2-1's the way to go, right? With one tank, you have time to redesign some of these characters before like a release, right?
Yeah.
Like you could take them out until like the new game or whatever. Who the hell knows when it comes out? But you take them out and work on them until then, right?
Yeah. I mean, it didn't seem from their announcement that Overwatch 2 was going to be that kind
who
of
knows?
enormous game-changing thing. But
No.
yeah, who knows what they end up actually
I
deciding.
mean,
to
it
do
does
with
change multiplayer though, right? I mean, they already showed the what is it, push, right? The new game mode. They showed
Yeah.
like a bunch of like art for new maps. So like you will get a ton of multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, but to totally redesign how the game is played, like the 3-2.
But you would want to do that before. You'd want to do it before, right? You
Yeah.
wouldn't want to launch all new like maps and modes and all this stuff, and then also be like, hey, how do you guys want to play it? Like, let you figure it out. Like, you kind of would want it in place.
Yeah.
Should we talk about
Overwatch.
Overwatch League?
How long have we gone for?
How long have we? how
50
long
That sounds
have
like we-
50 minutes.
50 minutes?
Yeah, so
Oh.
we've got time to do a bit of a recap and then sign off.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were in DC this week.
Yep.
I saw Jaws. He was dressed up as I don't even know, some guy from the UK, and Hex came out as Uncle Sam, right? And
I mean, I don't think it was a
whacked him on
particular
stage.
historical figure. It was just
yeah, I mean, I don't know.
It was just
I don't
a
know.
guy.
I don't know what historical figures you guys got. I didn't pay attention, but really, what the big match of the weekend is Philly, New York.
I mean, I think there's a couple of big matches of this weekend. The
Houston, Boston. Yeah.
Bro, oh my God. The scoreline says 3-2, but don't be deceived. That was hell on earth. For a
Why?
few short moments. It wasn't that bad. It was actually very entertaining as far as shit shows go. Like,
As far
it
as-
was,
It took so much energy out of me.
yeah, it was. We casted that. That was our only game we casted that day, and we casted one less map than Jules and Hex.
That's
So-
kind of ridiculous.
It was
Man,
wild.
you were screaming your lungs out.
Yeah, you were going crazy.
What, the Boston?
You were
Houston
just
game?
yelling.
Oh yeah, dude, it was so intense.
It was.
Was
It was.
Oh, I
ridiculous.
thought Toronto Philly was a really good series.
That was
I
a
think
really
that
good one.
Series, if you thought the meta was boring, go back and watch that series. Kind of a case in point that it's not.
Yeah, they totally messed stuff up. Like on Dorado and Kings Row. No, was it Anubis and Dorado?
It was
Anubis and Dorado.
yeah.
Playing a lot of dive stuff and just totally knocked Philadelphia Fusion off. And it looked like Philly were slowly making a very good case for being the best team in the league. And then
Yeah.
Toronto
Yeah.
pushed them to 5, nearly reverse sweep them, and you're like, oh, well, I don't know.
I love when Johnny does his power rankings on the desk and they show like 10 teams. It's like, well, you can't do a power rankings of like half of the league. Like it's kind of ridiculous. Like we have no idea.
Yeah, but you
clue
kind
what
of
some
have
these
to
teams
do
look
it
like.
though.
Well, yeah, you have to do it because you can't show
Yeah.
the standings because half of the people who are 0-0. I mean,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to do power rankings. But going into this weekend? Are you guys going to Houston?
No,
No.
it's Jake CP and
we're
Wolf
all-
Achilles.
Companion stream
We're
time,
all-
baby.
We're all home this week.
Oh,
Pog.
yeah.
New York, Florida. What do you guys think about that one?
Honestly,
Closer than people think.
Could be close between them,
Yeah.
honestly, the way New York are looking.
I don't think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be closer maybe than people think. I mean, you
Yes.
look at Mayhem. Mayhem haven't actually been performing that well. I mean, they were trying to force that Anna Briggs stuff. Yeah, they 3-0'd Houston, but who else did they get beat by?
Close,
They got slapped
baby,
around by
could be
Philly.
close.
Ooh.
I don't see it. I think it's
I'm-
like a 3-0. but
Oh,
it's
we're
kinda
gonna see
closer.
Atlanta, baby.
I was just gonna say
Oh.
we get to see Atlanta for the first
Hell
time.
yeah.
I'm excited to see Atlanta play.
Atlanta
I
play
think it's
Toronto
Toronto.
and then Paris. Both of those are losable games for
Pretty-
Atlanta.
Pretty good teams. Like
Very
if Atlanta rolls through both of them, I think you can definitely get a good
If Atlanta rolls through both of them, you're starting to talk about
yeah.
Atlanta being one of the best teams in the league.
Atlanta up there with Philly and New York right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, not even New York. It's like what Shock
Yeah.
and I guess maybe
Shock
Titans.
too, right?
Shock,
London.
Glad,
Does
baby.
Houston get a win this weekend in front of the home crowd?
No,
I
who
don't
do
think
they play?
so.
No,
They play
London and
London and
Toronto.
Toronto.
It's hard though. I mean, how many improvements can a team make from one week to the next?
Especially if you're sick, you're traveling. It's difficult.
Well, they lost all their bags in Washington, and they were sick.
Right.
All of them were sick.
You're just being kicked while you're down.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't matter, bro. It actually doesn't matter. I did this interview with Dream.
Come on,
no, I'm fucking serious. I did this interview with Dream, and like, as much as Dream was incredibly open with the reasons why Houston have all of these kind of the big question marks, like we were asking, like, why Repel and Raucus swapping all of the time? Why you're in a Blase on the hit scan? Why? So many questions about this kind of stuff. And basically the answer to all of them could be summed up as, we think it's the best that we can put out there at the moment. And that is like, I mean, that might be true, but that just means that your team is garbage. Right? Like,
that's brutal.
Like if
Blase, I can't believe that. Like,
I mean, I know those guys, and I really do think
how long
that
was
that's
the
true.
interview that you did?
Like 20 minutes. I really grilled him. I went deep.
I can't go watch it.
I went deep.
Watch that.
But what was the other thing? I mean, the only one that wasn't kind of, we think this is the best we can do, is that they said they were performing way better in scrims than they were in actual matches. But that's like a bad thing as well. Like, that just means you can't perform when you're on stage.
Mate, you're just you are the most basic Instagram bitch, dude. You're like, I can't watch a 22-minute interview. You're like the target demographic for the 1 minute Instagram video.
Hell yeah.
And even then, you're not watching 1 minute of it.
Dude, all I need is just 1 minute videos and insta queue times into just craziness, bro, and I'm good. Just get me in there quick.
What else have we got for this weekend?
Well, I think the funnest part, I mean, the matches will all be great, but I think the best part of the weekend will see Johnny announce the hero pools for week 5 on the post show. J-Dog is the hero pools controller.
Make sure you pick out Orisa.
Yeah. The reinforced world league.
There was a post on Reddit today that Orisa might drop out of the 10%
Yeah,
mark.
she could drop out of the 10%.
She'll be immune to bans. Because it has to be more than 10% play rate. So it'd be like Ryan, Diva, McCree.
Yeah,
Lucio.
that's actually, it's so interesting to go through and try and come up with who the banned heroes will be.
So we're like, the meta is incredible. We love this. And it's like,
goodbye.
Let's just destroy it.
Dude, it's so funny. I actually wrote down all the heroes that were over 10%, but that was before last weekend, so I don't know whether it was right. But it is kind of interesting because I thought that it would be the case that in like maybe half of the situations you would have a terrible meta again. The way that it worked before last week, there was basically a 1 in 6 chance of a change that's worse. And 5 out of 6 would just be at least different and maybe better because they would involve.
Well, who's got to be a lock to be gone? Like, nobody's like a lock, right? It's kind of random.
I think May might be a lock.
May and Lucio.
I can only give you data from last week because I haven't looked it up.
No. It's
it's random
on the website.
Oh, is it on the website?
Right?
Where is it?
There's a heroes tab on the stats lab.
Stats lab.
So it's Diva,
Presented by State
95%.
Farm.
Diva, 95%. Lucio, 91%. Ana, 88%. Reinhardt, 88%. May 87% and McCree 66% and Winston 10% is also.
So if it stayed where it was right now, right? So you lose 1 tank and you lose 2 damage dealers and then 1 support.
Is it 2 damage dealers?
Yes, I believe it's 2 damage dealers because it's the largest pool. I think it's 1, 2, and 1.
Yeah, it is 1, 2, 1.
So you'll lose 1 out of Reinhardt or Diva on random.
So
you'll lose both
May and McCree.
You're going to lose
it's
both
only May and McCree that are above 10%.
Yes, they're the only ones that are above 10%.
Because previously Reaper and Widowmaker both were as well.
Reaper is 8, Widow is 7.
So they've both dropped after this week. What about Batiste, Moira, Brigitte? These were all above 10%.
No, they're down to the dirt.
Oh, wow. So it's only
Lucio
and
whoa.
Wait, hold on.
No,
Johnny.
This has last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We've been baited.
Pega rankings.
Hold on.
No, it is. It's 2 weeks of gameplay. It's 2 weeks of data.
Oh, no, it is. It is 2 weeks. It's the previous 2 weeks.
It's the previous 2 weeks.
No. But I put in last 7 weeks, and the data has changed.
Right.
So
but I think they're basing the hero pools off of the last 2 weeks of play, though.
Yeah.
Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
So it'll be this week coming up and last week.
So this week,
bro.
So this, if it was run this week, you would have to ban May and McCree, right?
Yeah.
You would have to ban one of Lucio or Anna. Am I right in that?
Probably.
Yes.
And you would ban one of Diva, Reinhardt, or
Ryan.
Winston.
No, yes,
Oh,
I guess
Winston.
Winston. Yeah, Winston's barely above the 10%. He's 10.3.
Who has played Winston?
Right, so you have a 1
a
in
lot
3
of teams actually.
So you have a 1 in 3 chance of getting a much worse, of getting a worse meta because Winston would be banned. So all of the teams like Toronto that are trying to run dive, you can't run the dive.
Can't run that anymore.
Or maybe
God,
you
if
would
Winston
run it
gets
with
banned.
maybe you would run it with Wrecking Ball instead. Actually, I don't know how that would really impact things. Maybe those teams would still try it, but with Wrecking Ball.
What would be like? Okay, so if you lose May and McCree,
That just
and then
opens
let's say-
everything up, though. I swear, that just
No,
cracks the meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, do you see like? Could you even see Tracer? Like,
I think you
Genji
might
Tracer.
genuinely see dive. If May and
Yeah.
McCree are both
we-
banned, dive
are we
could
back?
be
Are
very,
we
very
back,
strong.
fam?
Doomfist
Are we
is back.
fam?
Doomfist is back. I don't know. It'll be interesting. Speculation's one thing.
You probably see a lot of what Toronto is doing with Doom, or Sombra just play in general.
I just don't want to see any of the tank heroes banned other than Orisa, you know?
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like-
So we had a,
the issue is Arisa's gonna like she'll probably get more play coming in soon.
Why?
Like if let's say for argument's sake, if you lost Reinhardt, I bet you'll see
Oh,
some
yeah,
Arisa
maybe.
play.
Maybe in that scenario.
Maybe
You
even
want
if
to
you
do
lost.
you want to do predictions for the first day?
yeah. Let's do some press.
Sure, if you want.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean-
it'd be
Anything
interesting.
for you,
Wait, I haven't thought of this.
Benjamin.
I'm just going off of what I
Yeah, I mean,
truly
come on.
believe in my heart.
Oh yeah,
All
I mean,
right,
I could just
got
change
New
it
York,
for the show. So,
New York, Atlanta, and London.
Oh, you got Atlanta over Toronto.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll
it's
go with
so
that.
impossible to
It's
know how
very
good
hard.
Atlanta are going to be.
Yeah.
I think you should predict Toronto, and I'll predict Atlanta.
Toronto
I'm
have been
gonna
so
go-
surprisingly good.
I'm gonna go
Toronto
New
has
York.
been good. I'm not picking Toronto.
With
to be
Surf for
bad.
playing, they were good.
Yes.
I'm gonna go New York, Atlanta, London.
I'm down with that.
I mean, that's what everyone's picking, right? New York, Atlanta,
Yeah.
Are
London.
you picking
Yeah.
that, Josh?
No, do you know what?
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
go
go.
Toronto?
I'm gonna go with Toronto just because, even though it's likely that Atlanta does win, because we haven't seen them at all, they could just be anywhere. You know what I mean? Like they could be
Yeah.
really good. Like they should be really good, but they could also be anywhere. And we know that Toronto are good, so I'm gonna go with Toronto.
You're just saying this because there is no repercussions.
I think
If there was actual like prize
yeah.
money
if my
on the line,
life was
you
on
would
the line,
you would never predict Toronto over Atlanta.
I think it might actually be the safer play to go with a known quantity that is pretty good compared
So,
to an unknown quantity that you think
the-
might be very good.
ESPN has put out once again a week 3 coaches
Okay.
poll
Oh.
of where they rate every team in the
Yeah,
league.
that article is pretty underrated. It's pretty cool.
I really like this.
Is this a power rankings kind of thing?
Yeah, they get
But for coaches, yeah.
for coaches, so they poll the coaches.
Ah.
Atlanta Reign is 7th. Toronto Defiance
Ah.
slightly lower than that, but a lot of movement being made between these teams. Like a lot of movement. So Toronto Defiant jumped up 5 places based on everyone's view of them. Philly jumped up 5 places to a tie of 2nd place with New York Excel. I find that kind of
Wait,
odd.
sorry, say that. So, can you just link the article?
Yeah, no, it's actually a super good article.
where do you
wait,
want it
I'll
linked?
just. No, we don't have a place to link it. I'm just going to Google it.
ESPN.com/esports is the first thing that comes up.
Yeah, they have shock number 1.
Shock number
Philly
1.
2.
But Philly and New York are tied at 2nd. I find that very
That is very, very
Crazy.
strange that people still rate New York so highly after they got kind of plowed by Philly and New York
Yeah.
looked
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, that's very
Like,
strange.
it's not even like Philly looked amazing. They did look very good, but New York were making so many mistakes. Jonak constantly out of position. Who are you feeding as well?
I'll say this. I think
Did they poll Dream?
Bro,
Oh,
I
that
mean,
was a slant. I'm sorry.
That's
That
just-
was,
that's
that
just
was, that was
nasty.
a bit. Sorry.
I would say
apologize.
the first game of the weekend, the New York Florida one, could be a bit of a trap game for New York because it's their only one of the weekend. So you don't know what their travel is like if they're going to like kind of take a flight out after and whatnot. Like I think some of these teams that only play once over the course of a weekend are going to have an interesting time trying to travel, focus, play the one game. Because it's kind of odd to only travel and play one game. I think this is New York's first time doing it.
Yeah, but you got to think about that. They're up against Florida, who have to prepare against New York and London. They're obviously Florida are preparing against London more.
Yeah,
right?
Probably. I mean, I who the hell knows how they're doing prep this season? I mean, with how hero pools are going to implement next week. I mean, you know, good luck.
Okay, so Shocker at number 1, Philly, New York. Then the Titans. All right, I get that. Then there's, I mean, Shanghai, Seoul, Atlanta. I don't even know. Half of the coaches that have been pulled for this haven't been scrimming against these other teams.
How did Atlanta move up 3 spots but didn't play?
It's based off of scrims as well.
Gladiators and Valiant have gone down so
much. The stonks market.
My fucking camera's getting darker and darker.
Yeah, what the hell?
I would like them to be transparent.
Dude's turning into
about
Palpatine, dude.
What coaches. Like if they've literally polled all head coaches or some head coaches or like some transparency in this article would be nice.
Well, what do you mean? It's just it's from coaches. I mean, they don't have to be the head coach.
No. Like you have to know. Like, is it all head coaches and assistant coaches? Is it just the Western teams, or is it like there's some transparency that?
But
can
even
explain
I mean, even if it was every coach in the league, at least half of them have not played against Shanghai, right? Because they're in Korea.
Sure.
So I would expect those teams to be ranked kind of based on reputation rather than scrimbucks.
It's also like Chengdu's 15. I'm like, how many of you have played Chengdu?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are Chengdu even playing?
Chengdu's probably just going down because other teams are moving up. Just more like London moves up 3 spots down there.
It's pretty interesting that Toronto and Gladiators are so low when they've taken the 2nd place and 4th place teams to map 5.
Yeah, that's
like really close games.
It's quite interesting. I think Toronto. I mean, look, if they beat Atlanta, I think they definitely beat Houston. I think they beat Houston regardless. But a 2-0 weekend for the Defiants, not out of the question.
No, it's
I
not
don't think
out
in the
of question.
slightest. Yeah,
I think that's quite possible. What other good games have we got coming up here? Are there any other good ones?
Yeah, Bren, what do you want to talk about?
Oh, sorry.
Mayhem Spitfire?
I was looking at
Paris, Atlanta is going to be good.
I was looking at Roblox games.
Honestly, it's both of the Atlanta games are just the good ones.
Yeah,
the Atlanta games look good. I am excited
London, Florida. It'll be close. I mean,
I think that'll be actually an interesting game to watch.
Be good.
Because,
but I think the real craziness is week 5. Once we get the hero pools on Sunday.
Oh shit.
It's gonna be crazy.
What if like in the stomps, what if we just had the best teams just play off picks to pull up the pick rate to 10%?
That's why it's random. That's what John was saying in a Reddit comment as well, is that one of the reasons that they made it random was to avoid people fixing it, right? Because otherwise you could just try and play a bunch of weird stuff in games that you know you're going to win.
We have one goal this weekend. We have one goal. Play a shit ton of Moira, play a shit ton of Reaper, a ton of
Orisa. Just Ryan Orisa the whole time.
Orisa, just play Orisa. Brig is 6%. We can get Brig up 4%. Doom is 6.4. That's hard because I don't want to see Doom.
Get McCree below 10.
Stop playing McCree. Please stop playing McCree.
No.
Play Reaper May all weekend. Get him out week 5.
There's 7 matches. That's a lot of playtime.
Although you look like if Toronto's able to win with the Winston stuff because nobody else is playing like any of the like Winston's getting close. It's like how often do you? I mean, obviously you're not taking that into consideration. You're trying to win series, but
I mean, if Among plays back-to-back weekends, he's going to be ruined because they'll just ban Wrecking Ball because of him alone,
just forever.
Then he can't play next weekend.
Yeah. Oh, what a time. What a time to be alive.
What happens? What happens if all of the DPS heroes are under 10%? You just don't ban anything?
That's a fantastic question, Josh. I don't know. Do you just ban the 2 highest played ones? That would seem like the logical thing to do.
I don't even know whether it's possible.
Because you can't open it up to the whole pool.
I mean, the game would be so balanced at that point, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're not there. I mean,
That would be ridiculously balanced. That would be like every hero has like 8% pick rate. That would be dumb.
We're getting there, though.
we'll get there.
We are getting there.
Overwatch heroes.
How many damage
DPS
heroes are
there?
27?
Damage.
No,
27?
7, 14, 14, 16.
yeah,
Oh,
So
16.
yeah, it's doable
Maybe I'm
because
a
you do
100 divided
100%
by 16.
divided by 16.
27.
6%. So you're playing
Oh.
6 to 10% gap,
Wait,
but the average has to be
this math is
6.25.
hard.
The average has to be less than 6.25% each.
Okay, so
Wait.
basically 6 of the heroes could get 0 playtime, and you could still get 10% across the rest, and you'd be fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. I
All
don't know.
right.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do a math podcast. Hey, want to watch 4 dumbasses do math? Tune in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about this week, Bren?
Coronavirus.
Oh, God, no.
We already did that an hour on the
no,
podcast.
no.